1460 WVOX.
Well, baby, why you try to play me like a fool? Well, don't you know I've been through this before? They pull you to the edge and then they cut you loose, hanging there to dry all night long. So much time spent hanging on to you. I was one of many that you played this way, yeah. I hope the others kept their pride while you took their hearts away. But you never get mine, you can fade away, yeah. Because Sophia, lovely, why are you so good to me? So crazy, crazy in love with me. Anything I do is okay with her. She knows how I feel, there's no need for words. Nobody loves me like Sophia. Yeah. It's amazing how you make them all feel like they're your only one. Well, I admit I felt it too, but then I saw your phone light up. It said, baby, I'm on my way. You don't have to admit it, I know what you're gonna say, yeah. Because Sophia, lovely, why are you so good to me? So crazy, crazy in love with me. Anything I do is okay with her. She knows how I feel, there's no need for words. Nobody loves me like Sophia.
Hi, I'm Paul Feiner, and I'm the Greenberg Town Supervisor, and we've been listening to Mitch Lance. Last year, we interviewed Mitch's father, Bobby Lance, who was actually instrumental in a song that made Aretha Franklin famous. And Bobby is also a teacher at the Bailey School in Greenberg. Mitch, how does it feel to be the son of a musician?
He's a cool dad for sure. He's definitely taught me a lot.
And could you tell us a little bit about your career?
Sure. So I've growing up around him, he kind of opened my eyes to so many different things that I knew were around musically, and so I played a bunch of instruments growing up and started writing songs. I was lucky enough to have a studio in the house. He built a studio when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and kind of just seeing him do that, all the time, I just kind of gravitated toward it, and I slowly would update the studio, make it a little more digital as, the older gear got a little more outdated for what we had. And by like 12, 13, I was, writing songs and producing, and then, just collaborating with other artists and, just building, my own, discography, so to speak. And then I graduated high school. I went to Berklee College of Music, and I graduated there actually 2013. Well, it's been a while. And so just been writing and playing and ever since. And
the music is fabulous.
Thank you.
We have to take a break, and we'll be right back. I want to learn more about Mitch. We're going to hear some more music. And the nice thing about this program is we're going to stay away from politics and from government. It should be more calming than all the aggravations of politics, right?
Absolutely.
Great. So I'm Paul Feiner. We'll be right back with musician Mitch Lance. And Mitch, do you have a website, by the way?
You can follow me on all the social medias. It's Mitch Lance Music, at Mitch Lance Music, Instagram, Twitter,
That's
Facebook,
great.
Yeah.
So we'll be right back in a few minutes. I'm Paul Feiner.
Wherever you go. 1460 WVOX.
When you can't get your hair the way you want, let it fall back down.
you're feeling overwhelmed and down, I could turn it all around. When you're dreaming of a better life, dream it in my arms. If you're feeling like a tear may come, it's quite wonderful. I will still love you when your makeup washes off, when your clothes and shoes can't make you move. You could leave those at the door. I will still love you when you feel like crashing down. If you need to fall, just fall for me. You just need to feel the sound. I will still love you. For me, I just need to feel the sound that you still love me too. You look amazing in that dress or those jeans. It don't matter to me, but they're both gonna end up at the bottom of the bed or on the floor when you're in my sheets. I can see the truth in your eyes. Don't you know how beautiful you are? Don't you know, baby? But can you let yourself be free to fly among the stars? I will still love you when your makeup washes off, when your clothes and
Your
shoes
music
can't
is
make you
really
move.
fabulous.
Those at the door,
I'm really so impressed.
when you feel like crashing down, if you need to.
Yeah, we're listening to Mitch Lance, who is a young musician, the son of Bobby Lance, who wrote a song that made Aretha Franklin, famous. I wanted to ask you a question. One of the songs that we listened to before had like 120,000 hits, and those are YouTube hits, right?
Yeah.
And I get excited when I post something on YouTube and I get 300 hits. How do you get 120,000 hits?
It's well, if I knew the specific answer, I guess everyone would know the answer. But it's the story of the video. I think was what it resonated pretty well. I think with people. It's when you have if you've seen the video, you know what I'm talking about. It's about a dog, and basically the song started off with, we were just writing, let's say a breakup song, and it was about, you don't want to deal with this person anymore and all these things. And, I write like we were talking about my father, and he's always such a great mirror to me. So I played him, the little demo I had recorded of it, and he was like, this is cool, but I think you need to spice it up. It's a little too, plain. And I said, okay, what do you mean? And he was like, well, it would be really interesting if you broke up with your girl and then you spend time with your dog. Because people love dogs. Who doesn't like dogs? So I was like, that doesn't sound like a great idea. And he was like, no, you're crazy. I think this is going to be great. So we ended up writing this song, and Sophia you'll see the video, but Sophia is the main character. She's a dog. And that's actually not where the story ends. The fascinating part about it was the specific dog we used in the video was a friend of mine's dog, and this dog was a rescue pit bull. And I didn't know much about, rescue animals. I never, I haven't spent too much time in shelters, but you hear various things and about all the animals that get put down. And then I started researching, and it was just absolutely shocking about, what happens in these shelters. And so the video kind of took itself to a different place with more of a humanitarian and, pro-life for dogs and, adoption and all that kind of stuff. So I think that, when I was sending it around to people and, all over the internet, putting it up in blogs and, you go on Reddit and all these various outlets and platforms and, people share it and, it's.
That's great. Now, you went to Berkeley, and your music is like top world class. I think it's really, fabulous. How do you promote yourself?
So, yeah, it's so different today than it was. Today you have to network, you have to put yourself in just any place you can. It's, you know, just completely just saturating yourself, putting, you know, putting lots of content out, putting good content, right? Because everyone could put content, but it's about putting good content and
then getting discovered. And you could basically be frustrated. You could be trying and trying and trying, and then all of a sudden you'll meet the right person and you'll become world famous, and then everybody will be asking for your autographs. And I think that's because I think your music is, you know, is music that people will love all over the world.
Thank you. No, for sure. I mean, I think you know, where my mind was musically a bunch of years ago, I don't think is the same. I think before I was so focused on older music, and growing up with my father would show me, I was so fascinated by all those old records, which was like, you know, real musicians going into a studio and like pressing record and finishing it and putting it out. And like today that process is completely different. It's so much more detail oriented, which is positive and negative because you can get such amazing results, but at the same time you could also take away from the human element. So it's a good balance, but I think, you know, putting the rawness into it with that modern thing that's my goal in music today.
Have you you know, reached out to recording studios, and you know how have you approached them? Because, you know, I could see myself listening to your music and constantly repeating it.
Yeah, thank you.
Listening and listening and listening.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fortunate to have a studio. So I talk to a lot of different writers and producers that I know, just, you know, in my circle, and just friends of mine from either college or, you know, just acquaintances you meet over wherever. And yeah, that's such a huge thing, is being level-headed and not getting, you know, out of the path that you're on, to keep people to, like, you know, ground you. That's, my father's a huge mentor for me in that sense, because it's so important to, you know, I work so much by myself in my music. I love, you know, not that I love working alone, but it's just, you know, it happens a lot. And when that happens, you can have such different, you know, thoughts of process for the same thing you're doing. You need someone to come in and say, all right, you think you need to take it this direction. So any person I know that can help me with that is so crucial.
We have to take a break, but have you had a manager? I
have not had a manager. I'm unmanaged.
Do people say you should have a manager?
When things really start heating up is when a manager will become more necessary. At this time, I can take care of.
The only reason I'm saying that is because I think your music is really good. So I figure, you know, the thing is, it's sort of like almost a shame that it hasn't been discovered by the larger audience. That's just my own.
No, absolutely.
That's just my own advice.
I mean, it's the manager aspect is definitely crucial, because I can focus on the music, and then you have someone who works collaboratively with you to work on the business side. So that's important.
So we have with us Mitch Lance, musician, and your website. How people go find your music?
You can search me on any of the social media platforms. Mitch Lance Music, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
Great. I'm Paul Feiner, Greenberg Town Supervisor.
1460 WVOX.
I want to love you. I want to push my love away when I want my heart to stay. I want to love you, baby, can't you see? All I do is think about our intimacy. I want to feel you laying next to me.
Hi. We've been listening to Mitch Lance. He's a musician, a graduate of Berkeley School of Music in Boston. And we were talking earlier that your father, Bobby Lance, wrote a song that made Aretha Franklin famous. And some people wanted to know what the song was.
Sure. So it's the song "The House That Jack Built," and I think she was already pretty well known at the time, but it was definitely a good hit for her as well.
That's right. And you know, your father, I remember I had him on the program, and he's also been a teacher at the Greenberg school district. He got sort of like screwed by the studios because he had a great career, composed amazing music, and then got almost blacklisted.
Yeah, you know, it's the label. It's I guess back to what we were saying earlier. You know, you could be really great at, you know, the musical side, but if you don't have, you know, the business, you know, savviness, it could hurt you. And you know, you definitely need to know. That's definitely where having a manager is super important. Having a good lawyer is super important. You need someone to, you know, guide you on that road, because there's so many people that are gonna say like, oh yeah, come with me, I could do this for you, or you know, you come with me. Like you never know who you're working with. You have to have a good, you know, good guide on the business is so crucial.
But you know, when I listen to your pieces, everyone is like amazing.
Thank you.
And I think you are such a great musician, and it's almost like a crime that you're not world famous. and you know, I hope that like next year I'll ask to interview you again, and you'll say you're too busy.
Not too busy. I will always come on here, no problem.
But the thing is, when you went to Berkeley, did they sort of teach you how to have a career? Because you definitely have the talent.
Thank you.
And you're you know, really a world-class musician. Now the issue, your weakness is promoting yourself.
Yeah. So it's kind of a yes and no. There's a focused major at Berkeley, which is called music business, but I think it's more of a college thing in general. You know, colleges will always teach you what has happened in the past, especially with like something like the music business, which has changed so drastically over the last even few years. So even the methods that we do today were not even, you know, when I was in school, Spotify wasn't even that big, especially in America. When I first got to Berkeley, Spotify was only in London, in England, and in European countries. It didn't even come to the States, you know, that big yet. Now it's obviously one of the major ways to listen. So, you know, they taught me amazing musical, you know, my musical, I guess, brain has definitely expanded, and, you know, those kinds of things where it was, you know, amazing opportunities, got to, you know, write music for so many different kinds of ensembles. Like I wrote for a tiny combo with 2-3 musicians all the way up to a 50-60 piece orchestra. So, you know, that sort of thing was fantastic. As opposed to the business side, it was, you know, they don't necessarily give you a roadmap to say, all right, do this and you'll have a career. You know, it's not as straightforward as many other, you know, professions as most people are aware of in the music business. But yeah, you know, to be a recording artist or be a producer or writer, college isn't necessarily the most important thing. It's, you know, if it's not, there's nothing wrong with it. It definitely would help, but there's some, you know, no one can necessarily teach you how to quote unquote write a song or like quote unquote, you know, perform. That definitely is something you kind of teach yourself, you know, you just have an instinct for it. So I wouldn't say they taught me how to build a career. They definitely showed me how to expand my horizons musically.
And also, I guess you probably get your satisfaction out of composing a great music. So when you're composing it, you get the thrill, wow, this is really amazing. And you're not really thinking, oh, I want it to be the number one hit. You just know that you're getting the satisfaction because you know it's good.
I'll tell you, I'm in my studio every single day, and I make so many different things, like either from simple beat, like I love, you know, hip hop music, so I'll make, you know, lots of hip hop style beats, and then I love, you know, pop music and soul music and music that sounds kind of like what we've been listening to today. And it's whatever it is, if I can create something that you press play and it just sounds decent, that's definitely the biggest satisfaction for me. You know, And then the thing about music is it's such a connection between people. Like the first thing you want to do when you make something that you like is share it with someone. Just say, hey, you need to check this out. Tell me what you think. That's what I feel like music. That's why music is that one language the whole world can understand. It's just something you can all share. It's
It's interesting because I have like an internship program, and we had somebody who won the Tony Awards, and he mentioned, and we had him like a few years ago. He did the Oslo. It was a show on Broadway, and I asked him why he agreed to meet with the interns, and he said, for a year, and the day before he met with interns, he had dinner with President Clinton and his wife. He said for years he had a show, he produced and he had manuscripts, and it never got anywhere. And then all of a sudden, many years later, he did the Oslo, and it became the top Broadway show in, won the Tony.
Wow.
And he said he remembers the frustrations of getting discovered, and then he wants to show people that, just because you're famous, you're not an overnight success. It could take years to become an overnight success. You could become an overnight success even 5 years from now, even though
what's that saying? Every
your
overnight success is 10 years in the making, or something like that.
That's right.
Yeah.
So what's next for you?
So I'm gonna be booking more shows. We're gonna be releasing more music. Like I said, I'm always making new music. So we're putting together what will be an EP at some point, but we're just gonna release a song at a time. Different styles, all in my niche. But it's we're just focused on building our social media, building our following. It's that's the goal.
And which song is this?
This is The House of Jack Built, the one that my father wrote for Aretha.
Family. We're listening to the song that Bobby Lance, Mitch Lance's father, composed, and hopefully your pieces you won't get screwed by the recording companies.
Yeah, no, we're staying away from the record companies right now.
Okay, we're going to have to take a break in a few seconds. I'm Paul Fina, Greenberg Town Supervisor. I'm going to be listening to more of Mitch Lance's music, and we're going to be speaking to Mitch Lance right after this break.
And
you're
wherever you go.
1460 WVOX.
Now back to the Greenberg Report on 1460 WVOX.
She loves me and then she don't. She says she'll let me in the door, but then she won't. Her name always keeps me humming while my heart keeps coming back for more. No matter how hard I try, it do me no good. I can't break away even though I should. I know that it's crazy thinking that she'll be mine someday. Oh, she got me working, it's like pushing on doors. So she says, give me a call, I'll be home all alone. So I dial her number, she don't answer the phone. She plays it hard, always scheming while I dream of tasting her love. Now I'm the kind of guy.
Hi, we've been listening to Mitch Lance's music, and during the break we were talking about what your goals would be. What would be your dream?
My dream would be to be a touring artist and simultaneously be producing and writing for other artists, because I have huge passion for writing and production, which is what got me into wanting to be in music. And then when I realized I could actually put my own voice on it, that was awesome. So I love the recording aspect, but I love the writing aspect. So doing both of those would be an absolute blast.
Yeah, that's great. And I think what we'll do is after this program, we'll create some YouTubes of this and some of your music, and then I'll circulate it and hopefully help you get discovered.
I really appreciate that,
because it's it's interesting, because I think your music is so good, and I think that I think that if you just found somebody who heard it and is in the field, you could do wonders. So maybe my claim to fame will be helping to make you famous.
that would be great, man. I hope so.
that would be great. Now, your father is retiring at Bailey School this year.
Yep.
And is he going to be working with you? And do you do any joint performances with your father?
Well, it's funny. We actually just did one last weekend, and it was at the Palisades Mall. It was for this sponsored event that the one of the stores in the mall did. It's called Invite Health. It's a good vitamin shop. They sell like really premier products. But yeah, it's we've done that, and yeah, he's gonna be retiring, and he wants to really get back into playing and writing, full time again. When I was born, he had to kind of shelf a little bit of it to help support his family, and it's amazing that he was able to do that. But my mother and I both agree that he should be doing this. And
one of the nice things about your father, and I think you probably have the same qualities, is both of you are modest. And your father, here he's someone who composed a song that Aretha Franklin performed and got world attention. And at Bailey School, most people wouldn't even realize that he had fame in his past.
Yeah, being humble is definitely important. He definitely taught me that. So, yeah, no, you definitely don't need to, I guess, boast on your own name. It's right. Let other people do it.
But sometimes if you don't push and push and push, then the people who are second rate and you could be first rate could progress faster, because they're a little bit more obnoxious, they're a little bit more in people's face. So I'm hoping that you'll really go the extra mile to promote your work, because I think people I think that there's more than 120,000 people who would enjoy your work. What music are you composing now? Are you working on some other pieces?
Yep. Yeah. So we have, 5 to 10 songs kind of working on all at the same time. So yeah, we'll have another song coming out, I would say probably the end of April. And then another one either a month or so after that. And we're always working on new music. And
what high school did he go to?
Woodlands.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Did you interact with the Lewis brothers, with the Lunatic Star?
I did. He was my wise mentor.
Right. Have you spoken to them about getting advice from them as to how they promote their music? They recently did another production.
Yeah, they were on tour too. I actually talked to Steve Lewis. I filmed the video over at the school actually a bunch of months ago. He actually helped coordinate me being able to do that. So I did talk to him. And then Jonathan he's a great guy. Yeah, I do need to talk to them more about what they do. I know they were just on tour and are releasing a new record.
And they said the new record, I think, has gotten more attention in Europe than in the United States.
A lot of bands, there's a lot of really big bands that break in Europe and then come back to the States. One of the biggest examples of that is Jimi Hendrix. He was nothing here, went to England, became Jimi Hendrix, and came back here and became a massive superstar. So that's definitely something that happens a lot.
Great. So next year you may be in Europe.
Maybe
right?
we'll go to Europe.
That would be great. What other recommendations would you have for students right now who want to go into a career in music based on your experiences?
the first thing is you absolutely have to love it. If you don't, it sounds, the cliche, corny things that people say are some of the most truthful. If you don't love making music, if you want to be in music because of all the fame and the prize that you see the successful people have, there's no way it'll happen. You have to care about the product you're making. You have to love music. You have to, you shouldn't have to make music with the end result being, I need to get paid for it. You should be able to make music just because you love to make it. So that's definitely the biggest number one step.
So, my whole approach in this saying you should promote yourself, that's really totally what you shouldn't do, because
you should promote yourself. But I'm saying sustainability in terms of making it a lasting thing. You have to love it.
Right, because people basically will say, I want to be world famous, and there's only going to be a handful of people who are going to be world famous. So then the average person is going to be disappointed. But if you really love music and you love the quality of the work, and every time you produce something or write something, you say, wow, this is really great, and you get the self-satisfaction.
Exactly.
That's the joy.
And then if you can affect one person, if one person can hear your music and loves it, that's the best feeling.
It's really interesting because my niece graduated out of School of New England Conservatory of Music, and I was speaking to my sister. She's a classical pianist. Said, the pay at the Boston Ballet is not that great. And my sister said, well, it doesn't matter what the pay is, because it's basically enjoying the work you do, enjoying music, and doing something that you really love. It's the same thing with me in politics. I would do it for free probably. Yeah. And so if you really like that, so that's really a great lesson, and it makes people that you're doing quality work. And if you know that you're doing quality work, that gives you the satisfaction.
Right. No, absolutely. That's most important. You have to, that's just step one. You have to promote yourself. You have to think outside the box, put yourself in places where, the people you want to work with are going to be, go to shows, go to, networking events, just meet people, just meet everyone. And you never know. Like you said, you meet that one person who can change your life. And today it's different because of the social media aspect. You have to build your following online. You have to, and it's like a blessing and a curse, because it's so many people. It's so easy to put out anything today, and
right.
the streaming, people are listening to music at astronomically high numbers, the highest they've ever listened to music, but it doesn't correlate to the pay necessarily, because of the radio, they used to pay more for each play. Now the streaming is much less, so it's much different today. It's just a whole different world. And
great. Well, my guest has been Mitch Lance, and I'm sure we're going to hear a lot more about you. And I'm very, very impressed with the quality of your work.
Thank you so much.
Wish you the greatest success, and you won't need my luck because you'll get it on your own.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
But thanks a lot. And I'm Paul Feiner, Greenberg Town Supervisor, and speak to everybody next week. Thank you.